Welcome, everybody. My name is Curtis Maloli. I am the Director of Teaching Development and Digital Learning within the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching. And I'm here with you today with our digital learning team, who you'll have a chance to meet in literally 2 seconds. But I just wanted to welcome you all. Thank you for being here and for your interest in these grants. It's a brand new initiative from the digital learning team. We have two initiatives that we'll be launching in the next month, and this is one of them. Really excited to share this with you. And I'll turn it over to David to lead you through what it involves.
Thanks, Curtis. All right. So before we get into the meat of the grant, we just want to say welcome on behalf of the entire digital learning team. So you've met Curtis. I'm Ava Rumba. I am the instructional designer on the digital learning team. I'm joined by my colleagues, Sally and Jason and Sarah. And in addition to the three of us, there are a couple of Career Boost students who we tend to hire on a multimedia producer level. And it's especially, I think, important to kind of set the stage here with our team because if you are awarded this grant, you'll be working quite closely with the digital learning team. Also, in the sort of stage setting portion of the presentation, I just wanted to say up front that the digital learning team offers collaborative partnerships and pedagogically grounded guidance in order to empower educators at TMU to confidently and creatively integrate digital technologies into the design and delivery of meaningful learning experiences. So what we're going to go over today is introducing the Dell Partnership Grant, and then going over the application process, and finally we'll be doing the question and answer. The Dell Partnership Grant supports faculty in developing high quality, digitally enhanced learning experiences through sustained collaboration with us here at the center. So what's in a name? Digitally enhanced learning, what we mean by that are learning experiences that intentionally leverage digital technologies. They're often meant to promote more flexibility in place and pace of learning. And we'll get a little bit more into those nuances later. So that's the digital enhanced learning part. The partnership part is where you'll be working closely with our team throughout the grant period, but also that we're building in oversight through Dean Chair approval and alignment with TMU curricular modification guidelines if your project does have curricular implications. Not all applications will, and we'll get into that in the stream thing a bit later. But if there are curricular implications, we have that built-in connection with your department leads and with our colleagues in the curriculum quality assurance team. And finally, the grant part, the money. So funds are provided in addition to the in-kind support that we do, that the digital learning team does, and those details will also be spoken about soon. Building these things do take a lot of time and effort and focus, and they often are done on the side of the desk, so to speak. So what this grant hopes to do with a combination of funds and our collaboration is to support faculty in prioritizing this work and realizing their visions to create these digitally enhanced learning opportunities for students. And in doing so, we hope that the projects through these grants will act as a catalyst to build additional capacity for flexible learning and innovative pedagogies at TMU. The anticipated benefits of this particular grant for instructors, we hope that it helps to build digital literacy, capacity, and pedagogical expertise in the use of technologies in teaching. For students, we hope it promotes greater flexibility in place and pace of learning, whether that be making digital interventions in in-person learning just to enhance that a bit, or creating creating possibilities for more flexible modes of course delivery that aren't strictly in person. So what we're trying to do here is to underscore that the sorts of projects that we could help you with can happen in any learning modality that is offered by TMU. And finally, for academic programs, we are hoping to ensure that the digital learning innovations that do occur, some kind of occur organically or spontaneously, some a little bit more methodically, but we're hoping that whatever we do together aligns with curricular guidelines and other institutional priorities that your academic programs are going to want to keep in mind. We are asking that PIs or principal investigators be TFA members, applying as either the lead instructor of a course, in their capacity as a chair or director, or as a representative of a curriculum committee. If you're not a TFA member, our advice right now would be to seek out a relevant TFA member to serve as your PI. Let them know what you hope to do, where your vision or project might actually be taking place, and if they can sign on, they can be sort of the vehicle for that idea to come to life. There are two grant streams with the digital enhanced learning grants. The first is what we call our Stream A component grants. So these are for faculty members seeking to experiment or test a proof of concept with a relatively small time commitment for an audience of undergraduate or graduate students. Now, we anticipate, as I said earlier, that most of these things are going to happen within courses. In this particular stream, there is theoretically an avenue or a lane where something that is worked on in this stream isn't necessarily married to a specific course. Maybe it applies across the first year of a program, or it's something more interdisciplinary. It would be a shorter time commitment, and we want to have it implemented in winter 2027 in some kind of capacity. And we say 1 to 3 learning objects. And what we mean by learning objects, so we have some examples on the slide here. So interactive learning modules, audiovisual materials, some sort of digitally enhanced activity or assessment, an online simulation, like we've done video-based simulations before, and experiments with emerging technologies like generative artificial intelligence or extended reality. And for this particular stream, we are awarding up to $3,000 per project based on the submitted budget proposals. And on the grant webpage, there are more stipulations about eligible expenses, which we won't get into nitty-gritty just yet, but they're there for your reference. And of course, the collaboration with our team is provided in kind, so you don't have to worry about budgeting money for an instructional designer or a multimedia producer. And that funds that you have can be put towards other things like hiring a research assistant or other professional services. And to a limited extent, depending on the nature of the project, equipment. But that again is all covered in the webpage. That's Stream A. Stream B is a course grant. So these are for faculty members, chairs or directors or representatives of curriculum committees who are leading digital innovation in their respective courses and programs. And this is comprehensive course development or redevelopment with digital learning enhancements to course delivery, content assessments, and activities. Now, this would be for implementation as soon as winter 2027. And so far, we're aiming for as late as fall 2027. The for Stream A, basically, it's a 13-month window for the grant period. For Stream B, it's closer to 2 years. But with those grant windows, we are also including time for you to do an evaluation process and a reporting process. So for the time being, we're aiming for the Stream B for winter 2027 or fall 2027 course implementation. There may be sort of edge cases that come up from time to time. If you have any questions, we can cover that in the Q&A. But that's sort of when you'd be ultimately looking to implement your intervention. And so examples of what you could do with this are all the learning object examples we provided back in Stream A, but developed across the span of a course. And these enhancements can happen to courses delivered in person, or they could be designing or redesigning courses for blended and online delivery modalities. And potentially an open textbook that could serve as a required course text. There is another grant that we offer that does this with a little bit more specificity. But this is one potential example, depending on, again, that's something we can chat about. And for these particular projects, up to $7,500 per project based on the submitted budget proposals. And again, you don't have to account for those services that we would provide as a DL team. And I think with that, I'm going to pass it off to Sally, who's going to talk a little bit more about what it is that we do in the DL team and what kind of services we do provide.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Dave. So we have a list here. Some of these things sort of overlap with the examples that were provided in the previous slides, but just to let you know about some of the things that we offer from the center. One that can be a little bit more nebulous or slippery to understand is around the idea of instructional design. So an instructional designer will help with creating the learning path, thinking through the different components that are possible with a learning, with a course redesign. So when you're looking at stream B, for example, there'd be a lot of back and forth in helping to support the person putting that together in order to make best use of whichever spaces you're using, whichever digital tools you are using to help design the learning experience. And that it also plays into the component pieces as well, thinking about how this might have the ability to move from one space to another or be used in different ways, whatever way the component's being used. So just to mention that that upfront as well, is that that's one of the things that we're offering with this, is that sort of guidance through the pedagogy and principles behind how to create that learning experience. A lot of other things that go along with that include developing the learning modules and any ancillary materials. So it might be that you create a component that has some piece of sort of like a guide for instructor guide or something that goes along with this. It could be that you want to create something like listed lower, like a reflective journal that students will go through as they experience whatever you've built. So all those sort of pieces that would go along with the learning experience, we also have expertise in. You will see in a moment that we also have audio video capabilities within our team, not just in terms of expertise, but facilities and equipment as well. We are well versed in open educational resources. For example, at TMU, we have access to press books and other ways of creating materials that could be shared more and remixed and reused by others. It's something that we really try and promote, is the idea of creating these open educational pieces that could be used in different ways across different schools, even maybe not even just across TMU. We can also provide help with creating interactivity, like knowledge checks or other types of simulations or other things like that as well as some GenAI stuff, bespoke templates. We can create all this stuff, like come up with the approach, or at least support your idea and your approach and help you through that process. Next slide. So here's a bit more about the Tech for Teaching studio for you. So we have a studio space within our offices that is a small space, but it's very flexible. It allows you to do a lot of different things, as you can see from the screenshots that are on the right-hand side. So a lot of the work that we do there is video work, although it can be used for photography or for audio recording as well. It's designed specifically for supporting projects that are education based. And so the idea is to support the teaching community with a dedicated space for that. We also have partnerships with the library, or have friendships with the library and collaborations with them to use some of their spaces as well, and that we can talk through as well on a case-by-case basis. And they also have some other really great resources that we can consider as well. But within our own studio, we have a light board. So the first screenshot at the top of me drawing in front of myself is of a light board where it's like having a blackboard in front of you, and you can show and explain things. So that's available to you if you get this grant. We have a green screen. We have a document camera for doing really great close-up, detailed shots of either textbooks or even equipment or that kind of thing. We even have a 360 camera if you're interested in doing some 360 video work. So there's a lot of different materials and equipment available to you as part of this grant. This resource is available to folks who do not have the grant as well, but what this would do is give you priority use of this space and also guidance from the team through the process of using these particular facilities. Next slide. So we also wanted to share with you a couple of examples of work that we've done recently. We've had a bit of a pilot year looking at some projects that were similar to the ones that we would anticipate for grant projects, and so we wanted to share a couple of those with you. One we did with Preeti Raman from the computer science department, building simulations. So she had a sort of bespoke platform that she was using for simulations, and what we were able to do was work through what would be the experience for students, what would be the questions, how do you want to design these particular components, working with her in collaboration to do that, and then also providing the resources to actually record the video components of these simulations. And so what you see there is a screenshot of one such recording also being produced. So this is an example where we actually inset a video into a scene. And so there's different ways we can play around with technology and ideas, and it's the kind of thing that we really enjoy doing. And so some of the things that the funds that she received through this pilot were used for was things like hiring a dedicated research assistant. And she also used that money to to fund some consultations with the live actor simulation team. So they were there to just provide some feedback in terms of the script that was provided, to think about creating an authentic experience for students, and they were able to provide that consultation and expertise with a little bit of the money from the funds. There's also the ability for it to go to some amount of focus group funding and things like that in terms of the evaluation. However, she had evaluation in place with a research assistant she was already working with, and they were able to use other funding for that. But that could have been another way that the funding was used. And so we're still, we're still working with her a little bit. We're finishing up some branding and design support, finding out more about the evaluation piece, and she is planning on. Oh, she did already just last month presented on this work that we did at a conference in St. Louis in February 2026. So there's opportunities to create something that would be of relevance to different conferences or other things. We can talk through that as well on an individual basis. The next one was a full course. So this was a course that was sort of combining a whole bunch of already existing research methods courses into a larger class. So it was a change in the capacity for the course that started this process. And so this course was going to be somewhat of a flipped classroom, so with some learning happening online before class and then activities happening within the classroom space where students could practice some of the skills that they were able to review and reflect on within their D2L shell. And we helped to support the recording of video tutorials, designing of the D2L shell itself. What we did was we actually built out the prototype for this, and due to timelines being what they were and to ensure that it could happen in the time that was needed, in this particular case we built the templates and the prototypes, and then there was other folks hired to do the implementation of everything past prototyping. And so the prototyping was doing the first 3 modules, and then after that, they hired someone. What ended up being able to be done here was with the person that they hired to support them was actually one of the Career Boost students that works with us on a separate contract. So sometimes we're able to help with that process of finding folks to help you if it goes beyond the capacity of what we can do. And so as we have collected the feedback through surveys and focus groups and supported that process of doing this evaluation, and also just helping with the end of grant report. So that's where we're at this point with this particular project. So that's just a couple of examples, and there are a lot of other possibilities from within this grant.
In this section of the presentation, we're going to go over the application process. We'll start with the timeline at a glance. So these are kind of the major dates that you'll want to keep in mind in terms of things to look out for. So on Monday, April 6th, the submission for the preliminary application is due. So we have a 2-stage application. I probably should have said that from the jump here. What we're looking for in stage 1, and I'll get into more specifics, we're kind of looking for like a light to medium sketched detail of what you're trying to do. Like we don't need all the specifics about timeline or what you're spending your money on, but we would like maybe an idea of what you think you might be putting the grant funds towards. But I think in terms of like the medium sized details that we'd be looking for in stage 1 are kind of the ones that would have course or curricular implications. And we'll get into all those specifics soon, but that happens through a Google form. And as I said, it's due on Monday, April the 6th at 4 p.m. And then the adjudication period will begin shortly thereafter. And we'll speak to the specifics of that. But during that adjudication period, you'll be invited to like have a brief meeting with us to go over any sort of lingering questions we might have, or just things that we want to like clarify before setting you off to potentially do stage 2 of the application. And we anticipate that that adjudication period will fall somewhere between the April 7th and April 23rd. But in any case, regardless of what the start and end dates of that particular period are, we know for sure that the stage 2 final application package will be due Monday, May 25th. So that gives you a bit of time to work on the more granular things we'll be asking for, and we'll provide some templates and forms to help you do that. And then we're hoping to have an eye to start the grant cycle in earnest in June. So if you pass stage 1, you pass stage 2, we hit the ground running with some preliminary meetings in June. So we'll go over some of the more specific pieces. So before you begin, you want to familiarize yourself with the 2 grant streams, eligibility requirements, and other guidelines. For the sake of time and just having, I guess, multiple, maximum time for us to do Q&A, we're not going to go over all of those nitty gritties, but all of that is going to be in the Dell Partnership Grants webpage, which is linked here on the slide. And if your proposed project includes implications that may change the delivery mode of the course, we would recommend that you consult with your department and identify any potential curricular changes your proposal would require. You don't have to have all those details completely lined up 100% before the stage 1, but we would advise that you at least ask about those sorts of things if you sense that those might be involved. In the preliminary application, as I said, this happens. This is going to be in a Google form, which is linked here on the slide. It's a Google form that will auto save your draft, so you can kind of come back to it. It could be kind of like a living draft for you to come back to. But what we're asking for are you to choose the grant stream you're applying for, provide details about the main course that will be impacted by the proposal. And as I said earlier, there are hypothetically situations that might not be necessarily course specific, but we suspect most applications will be. And the form actually walks through some of those more nitty gritty cases. Then we'll ask for a rationale explaining how your proposed project addresses a pedagogical challenge, improves the student learning experience, and aligns with existing institutional priorities. And then getting at that sort of low to medium detail that we're asking for in stage 1, we're looking for a brief and preliminary list of anticipated project outputs, expenditures, and collaborator roles. You don't have to know who your collaborators are precisely, but maybe a sense of the kinds of people you would need on your team outside of the DL team that you might be potentially spending your funds on. And a brief and a preliminary explanation of how project outputs will be disseminated, updated, and sustained past the grant period. And again, we provide some suggested word counts for these things. We're not looking for high level detail. We just want to get a sense of what's going on. And it's our hope that with that stage 1 application, during the adjudication process, we'll have just the right amount of detail for us to assess the strength of the proposals. So applications will be reviewed by an adjudication committee that will be composed of the Vice Provost Academic, the Center for Excellence in Learning Teaching Executive Director, the Director of Teaching Development and Digital Learning, that's Curtis, the Digital Learning Team, that's the 4 of us, and a curriculum specialist from our colleagues in the CQA, the Curriculum Quality Assurance Department. And so shortlisted applicants will be invited to have a brief meeting with our team based on any lingering questions that we might have or specifics that we might want to get at to prepare for the stage 2 application. And so we'll probably be providing some forms that will help you get to stage 2, which is the next slide. Shortlisted applicants will be asked to provide in stage 2 a final application package. This includes any desired updates to the contents of their preliminary application. So if they want to update what they were kind of putting in that earlier part, they can refine that. A detailed budget justification and timeline form that will be provided to you by our team based on that conversation and based on that thing that whatever you told us to begin with. We'll try to craft a forms that are kind of specific to the nature of your project. And finally, we'll need signatures from yourself and your approving party, so your chair or director, and we'll help to administer all of that stuff. We're really mostly got our sights set on the stage 1 preliminary application, and the other parts are gonna they'll come in time. And with that, I think we're at a cool just half an hour or so. I'm going to stop the recording, and we'll open up the floor for a question and answer period.